Hello there, welcome to Look North. On the programme tonight, we joined the mourners from Yorkshire travelling to London to pay their respects to the Queen.
So worth it and moving when you got inside. All those hours and pain of standing just melted away.
We'll look at how you can pay your respects closer to home over the next 3 days. Also tonight, how different communities have come together to remember the Queen. And we hear from the Knaresborough flag maker at the heart of national mourning. A look at some of the day's other news as work starts on a new pipeline to protect drinking water supplies in the Worth Valley.
Cool and windy day with a few showers along the coast. I'll be back later in the programme with your full forecast.
Thanks for joining us this evening. The wait to see Queen Elizabeth line in state is now estimated at 22 hours. Tonight we'll hear from some of the people from our region who travelled to join that queue in London. We'll also meet a Bradford NHS worker who was in a car showroom when she got the call inviting her to attend Her Majesty's funeral. But first, let's take a look at what's happening here in our region over the next 3 days. At 11 o'clock on Monday, communities will be able to come together to watch the funeral live at cathedrals in Sheffield, Wakefield, Bradford and Ripon. In North Yorkshire, people can watch the service at Scarborough Spa, the Royal Hall in Harrogate and View Cinema in York. In South Yorkshire, it'll be shown at the Curzon Cinema in Sheffield and on campus at Sheffield Hallam University. And the funeral will also be streamed in West Yorkshire on a big screen at Millennium Square in Leeds. Now on Sunday, so the day before the state funeral, a number of remembrance services will be held across our region, including at Dewsbury, Leeds and York Minster, Sheffield Cathedral and the Etz Haim Synagogue in Leeds. A multi-faith vigil is also planned at Millennium Square in Leeds the night before at 6 p.m, ahead of the National Moment of Reflection, that's at 8 p.m. And books of condolence are still on display at the majority of churches, town halls and council buildings. But in the lead up to the funeral, many people from our region have decided to travel to London to pay their respects in person. I joined some of them on their journey. It's an early start for Angela and 12-year-old Ferdy from Colton. They're on the 8:30 train from York and have a full day planned.
We want to try and cover Buckingham Palace and Green Park. Hopefully the queues will get to such a level that we can get to Westminster and go and see the Queen.
So apart from missing a day off school, why do you want to go down to London today?
Just to experience it, see everything that's happening.
Others on this train have the same idea.
I've learned a lot about the Queen in the past year and I'm really excited.
Bye, see you later.
Once at King's Cross, we make our way to Green Park and join the crowds heading for Buckingham Palace. The flowers and tributes that have been laid here over the last week have been moved to other parks around the palace because they've had so many. So what you see here is just a really small amount and there's thousands of people here, yet you can hear it. It's really quiet, isn't it? It's very calm.
I'm actually getting a little bit nervous and feeling a bit... It hits you once you come in here.
A few miles away, Claire and her 17-year-old son Seth, also from York, are queuing to see the Queen line in state at Westminster Hall. So Claire, how many steps have you done so far today?
Nearly 12,000.
Goodness me.
Yeah, a lot of walking.
3 hours in the queue.
Yeah, so far.
What's made you want to come down?
So, Seth's got a day off college, I've got a day off work, and we thought we should really make use of that time and come to this really historic moment that we're never going to be able to see again in our lifetimes, as you imagine.
Everyone wants to be a part of it. And I'm talking to everyone here feels the same way, and I think that's why there's such, a sense of community. We've made loads of friends, and it barely feels like we've been queuing at all.
This is what they're here to witness, the Queen's coffin on display inside Westminster Hall. After walking all day and 6 hours queuing, this is where people leave the building. They might have only spent a few moments in there, but it's given them the opportunity to give thanks and be part of a huge moment in history. Was it worth it?
1000%, yeah, it was so worth it. It was That was mind-blowing, yeah.
Diana travelled down on her own from Leeds this morning, but she hasn't been short of company.
It was very tiresome at the beginning, but so worth it and moving when you got inside. All those hours and pain of standing just melted away.
I had a lump in my throat and I didn't want to cry, and I did shed a tear, and I didn't expect that.
This afternoon, the queue was paused. Mourners who travel to the capital are now being told to expect a wait of up to 24 hours to say their goodbyes to our longest reigning monarch. Angela and Ferdy, who I met on the train to London, did decide to join the queue in the end and waited 7 hours. They're here back in Yorkshire, as you can see. How was it?
It was very special, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was really good, actually. We didn't expect it to take so long. And we didn't actually expect to join the queue, but Ferdy said that he decided at the last minute they did want to go and join. If we'd have seen the back of it before we started, we probably wouldn't have bothered. But we did join, and it moved along quite fast, and it was a really good atmosphere, so it was quite special.
You must be shattered, Ferdy, because I am, and I didn't wait 7 hours in the queue.
Yeah, I was really tired.
And I hear that you had a little rest under the London Eye on a patch of grass at one point.
Yeah.
For you, Ferdy, why did you want to do that and be with your mum in London?
Well, it's living history, and it's something that I'll probably look back at when I'm older and think that I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, you certainly won't forget that, will you? Angela, talk us through the logistics of the queue, because I didn't get quite to the back of the queue, but in terms of facilities, when you're waiting for 7 hours, how does it all work? Can you leave the queue?
You can leave the queue in certain places. It's really well done. When you do eventually find the back of the queue, it all just keeps running. There are marshals about every 50 to 100 yards who keep you cheered up and keep telling you how much further there is to go. There are toilets at really frequent intervals, and plenty of them. Drinking water's provided. The emergency services, there's various firemen, policemen along the route giving out free bottles of water. And there was a really posh hotel as well on the side of the river, and their staff had come outside, laid out a table, and were giving away free tea and coffee.
So it was very well catered for, wasn't it?
Really well done.
Yeah.
And Ferdy, once you got into that hall after queuing all that time, how did you feel?
I didn't really I'm not sure. It was just the atmosphere was really, there was so many people, but it was so quiet, and everybody was so respectful, and yeah, it was just really nice.
Well, as you said, it's certainly something you won't forget. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for letting me follow you on the train.
It was a pleasure. It was nice to have you with us.
Oh, thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a day I certainly won't forget either. More services have been held in our region to remember and give thanks to the Queen. People from all religions and local councils attended an event at Makkah Mosque in Hyde Park. Speakers shared their memories of her public service and the support she offered people of all faiths.
Although Her Majesty the Queen had deep faith in Christianity, she embraced diversity. She was willing to reach out to people of all faiths and beliefs. I have had the privilege of meeting the Queen and seeing firsthand how she deeply respected people of other faiths and beliefs.
And at Wales High School in Rotherham, around 2,000 students and staff came together for a special assembly. They had to use both sports halls to fit everybody in. The school wanted to bring everyone together to pay their respects.
She was a very good person. She helped lots of people. She was just a very good leader in general.
It was very good to remember in the way that we did, and it made sure that everyone had the time that they could reflect on what she's done.
I think it was important for everyone to take part in so that we could remember the Queen and all the great things that she's done for our country.
It was a really good time to remember, everybody paid their respects in the assembly today, so.
She helped many people with the charity work, and she was just an amazing person.
She's a really, inspirational figure, and just everyone really loves her.
Well, we have a special edition of Look North on Sunday evening on BBC One. We'll look back at how the region has paid tribute to the Queen over the past week. I do hope you'll be able to join us. Let's take a look at some of the day's other news now. Work is underway to lay an emergency pipeline to pump water across Yorkshire. It follows the lowest rainfall in some areas in 130 years. The temporary pipe will run from Calderdale to the Worth Valley. Yorkshire Water says reservoirs need months of rain to help them recover and return to usual levels. You can see that there, can't you? Phil Bodmer reports.
On the hills high above Hebden Bridge, a helicopter shuttles a vital cargo of pipes, pumps and planks. On this terrain, road vehicles are unsuitable, so air freight is the only option. Over the next few weeks, engineers will build a temporary pipeline over several kilometres of moorland in order to bolster water levels in seriously depleted reservoirs.
Well, this is Leeming Reservoir. It's one of a number of reservoirs in the Worth Valley that have seen the lowest rainfall total in 130 years. But in full flow, it should look not like this, but more like this.
The spillway 18 months ago, when the reservoir was full. It's a very different situation now.
The reservoirs over in the Worth Valley are a bit lower than we'd like. It's rained a lot less in the Worth Valley than it has elsewhere across the region. So we're able to move the water from the top of Hebden Bridge down over the hill into the Worth Valley just to give those levels a bit of a rise.
Locals say they've never seen water levels quite so low. Michael Roper has run the Dog and Gun pub at Leeming for the last 28 years. His daughter Jodie grew up here.
We moved here in '94 when I was 2.5. And it's never been this low in as long as I can remember.
I think it was about 18 months ago. We were going across the bridge and it was that wild. It was just like the North Sea was blowing right across the bridge down there.
Yorkshire Water says the pipeline will act as an extension of its existing network and will help protect supplies over the coming months. The company is also introducing a number of other measures.
So we've applied for some drought permits this week for the northwest part of Yorkshire. So it just means that we can operate our reservoirs a little bit differently. It means that we're reducing the amount of water that we're putting out of them. And it also means that we can take more water from rivers over winter when they're a bit fuller. It just helps us reduce that strain on the reservoirs.
And how long do you expect that to be in place, or is it impossible to say at the moment?
So that'll be in place over winter, and then we'll see that recharge over winter, and then hopefully going into spring we'll be in a much healthier position.
Once the pipes have been airlifted into position, engineers will then begin the task of connecting them together, thus enabling this precious resource to remain on tap. But with levels in the Worth Valley at a record low, it may be some time before we see a return to something resembling a reservoir high. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North.
We have some breaking news to bring you. In the last few minutes, we've heard that police are investigating after 2 bodies were discovered at a flat in Leeds. Officers were called to an address in Holbeck last night where bodies were found. Although they've not been formally identified, they are believed to be a 30-year-old woman and her 10-year-old son, who both lived at the address. Police say they're not looking for anyone else in connection with the incident. We'll have the latest on our late bulletin, and that's at the later time of 11 o'clock this evening. A former BBC Radio Leeds presenter found guilty of stalking 4 people, including broadcaster Jeremy Vine, has been jailed for 5.5 years. Alex Belfield ran a YouTube channel targeting his victims by harassing them online. His trial heard, he made videos about them, posted messages on social media and also encouraged his followers to target them. A retired English teacher has been jailed for 12 years for sexually abusing 19 pupils at a North Yorkshire school between the 1970s and 1990s. 73-year-old Peter Holmes from Bristol worked at the Malsis School in Craven, which closed 8 years ago. North Yorkshire Police say Holmes was a systematic child abuser and praised his victims for their bravery. Right, let's return to the Queen's funeral now, and as communities across our region prepare to pay their respects this weekend, Luxmi Gopal is in Wakefield for us tonight with more details. Luxmi.
Amy, well, if I take you back to just over 3 months ago, although it may seem a lot longer ago than that, just over 3 months ago, neighbourhoods across our region were celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And many, like Whitehall Crescent here in Wakefield, were getting into the spirit of things with bunting and union flags and neighbours being brought together for a big street party. And it was a really unifying occasion across the generations, with residents of all ages being brought together, including Mary, for whom King Charles III is the 5th monarch in her lifetime.
I had George V when I was born,
then 10 months of Edward VIII, then George VI for 26 years, then Elizabeth for 70 years, and now I've got Charles. 5. I was 5.5 when she was born. But all little girls wanted to be like Princess Elizabeth. We all wanted the same clothes, and we all wanted to be like her. My first memory of her as Queen was a very sad one. She was coming down the steps of that aircraft, all in black and all on her own. And she looked so sad. Her coronation, it rained and rained all day. We were out on the streets and we got wet again.
At the age of 101, Mary has more memories of the Queen and royal events than most. But one memory she shares with all her neighbours on this cul-de-sac in Wakefield is the street party held here for the Platinum Jubilee. Bunting and abundance for residents old and young, nodding to the colour scheme of red, white and blue, subtly like Mary, or less so like Andy. 3 months on, reminiscing is bittersweet.
Yeah, it's a very strange position to be in, from going from one extreme to the other, but I think it's just I think we're so glad we did the party before. It's such a fantastic opportunity for everyone to come together and remember everything the Queen's done for the country and the Commonwealth in total.
This community, brought closer by the Jubilee, is now looking ahead to Monday, the Queen's funeral.
I think people will kind of hover around on that day just to check in on what we're doing, how we're feeling, especially the likes of the elderly people that are maybe on their own. I think there will be a time for us to come together as our little community again and reflect again.
Their sense of togetherness, forged by marking the Queen's platinum reign, lives on after her death. So that was some of the people here in Wakefield reflecting upon the Queen's death. But Fiona Trott has been to Bradford to find out how people there are preparing to pay their respects.
Do you remember the Queen when she came here?
A family's fond memory.
We were told the protocol not to touch her.
And then the Swamiji put the shawl on over your stove. You thought I was going to get into trouble?
For Sarita and Arshna, this was more than a royal visit. It was royal recognition. Their father helped build the first Hindu temple outside London. Now, Arshna is travelling to the capital for the Queen's funeral.
I want to be there, because obviously my dad can't be there, and say farewell to her and thank her for her service.
We'll be coming down here and watching with Mum, because my son has got the day off, so we'll be coming here together to watch it.
I cried all that day.
Yeah.
A Bradford family or a royal family, they both know grief.
So both gone, you know.
Dad and the Queen.
Very sad, you know.
That's why the cathedral is opening its doors.
OK, that's great, mate. That's in place.
On Monday, anybody can come here to watch the funeral and comfort one another.
People have been coming up to me, coming into the cathedral and talking about some really old-fashioned things. You know, the sense that Her Majesty brought a constancy, that she was faithful, she was a servant of the people. I think Her Majesty brought security to us without even speaking.
Flags at half-mast, a common sight now, and a subtle teaching tool at this nearby school.
You are going to do an activity because there's something special happening on Monday.
It's her funeral.
It's her funeral.
And why have you made that today?
Because the Queen has died on the very morning.
Do you know how long she was Queen for?
70.
70 years. Did you have a tea party?
Yeah.
We'd recently been doing all of these events around the Platinum Jubilee, so it's very relevant to them in their minds. And then to come back after the summer and for her to pass away, they felt that sense of shock. And so we needed to acknowledge that and then move through the week also commemorating and celebrating her life.
The pupils paying tribute, the cathedral comforting the community, and the family saying thanks. This is one of many cities preparing to say goodbye.
Fiona Trott with that report there. Well, the world's presidents, kings, queens, Queens and dignitaries will be there to make up the 2,500 strong congregation on Monday. Among them will be Nancy O'Neill. She worked for the NHS for 40 years and was on the front line during the COVID pandemic. Nancy was in a car showroom when she got the call inviting her to the funeral. Welcome, Nancy. Tell us, how did that phone call go?
Yeah, it was a bit surreal. So I'm sitting doing a negotiation with a man. He went off and the phone was ringing. No caller ID, don't always answer those. But I thought, nothing else to do, so I answered it and he said, I'm ringing from the Cabinet Office. And my first thought was, oh, what an unusual time to be inviting me to go and collect my award that I'd received in the Queen's Birthday Honours. And my next thought was, oh, maybe now the Queen's gone, the King wants to retract it. And so I said yes, and he said, well, we're inviting a small number of people that were awarded honours in the Queen's Birthday Honours to attend the funeral at Westminster Abbey. Would you be interested in attending? And when I'd got my words back, I'm not often lost for words, but I was on this occasion, and I said, that's just amazing, yes. I'd very much like to be in attendance. I'd considered going down to see the Lane in state and take my grandchildren down, but luckily I hadn't made those arrangements because I will now be going in a very different guise.
You absolutely will, and you got the car as well at the same time.
And I have bought a car. It doesn't arrive till next Thursday, but yes.
So, as you say, you were on the Queen's Honours list. Sadly, you didn't get to receive that honours from Her Majesty. What does it mean to be there at the funeral on Monday?
Oh, it is unbelievable. I still can't. I think until I'm in the room, I won't believe that it's actually me that's going. It feels as if it's happening to somebody else at the moment. It's an incredibly proud feeling. It's humbling because so many people worked so hard through all their careers, but particularly during the pandemic. And I was just one of an awful lot of people. So I do see it very much as a representative role, that I'm the fortunate one that's going, but I'm going on behalf of all of those people, particularly my colleagues across Bradford District and Craven, both NHS and social care colleagues, because we worked together really hard, and any one of us couldn't have delivered what we did, but collectively we managed to do it. So, yeah, really proud and honoured.
Nancy, you're going to be amongst world's presidents, kings and queens. How are you feeling about that?
I think it's more that I know they'll not be noticing me very much, but there'll be so many faces that I know there that you feel as if you know because you've seen them so many times and you've heard them so many times. And I think, what if they notice me and they think, who's she and why is she here?
You deserve to be there, Nancy, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know that the day that the Queen died, you also lost your mother-in-law, so it's been a really emotional week for you, hasn't it? So I'll be thinking of you on Monday.
Thank you.
Now, a woman from Knaresborough who single-handedly created the royal standards we've seen draped over the Queen's coffin has called it an absolute honour and overwhelming. Anthea Corner-Walker makes flags at a company in North Yorkshire who are regular suppliers of the royal household. Heidi Tomlinson reports.
When the world was watching a coffin of monumental significance, a seamstress in North Yorkshire was quietly admiring her work.
I'm just quite overwhelmed by how good it looks. It's my claim to fame. It will always be remembered.
For 20 years, Anthea Corner-Walker has been making flags for the royal family, but the order for these large royal standards was bittersweet.
I knew what it was going to be used for, but no, you don't think about that, you just do the work.
Anthea works for Flying Colours flag manufacturers in Knaresborough.
Is that what you started first, the Three Lions? Did you say it was the Three Lions?
Start with the lions, yeah.
Right.
The small team have been watching with pride as they were responsible for making the royal standard draped on the coffin in London and the Scottish version, which was used when the Queen's hearse left Balmoral. Buckingham Palace ordered them 2 years ago in preparation for the inevitable.
We've seen a lot of our products on television, but not as focused as this. Let's start right from the Jaguar leaving RAF Northolt. It became lit up. The lights shone inside it. The Queen designed it with these lights shining on her coffin, on the drape, on the coffin drape, the royal standard. So it was absolutely magnificent to see something like that, all lit up for the world to see.
So this is the royal blue fabric that was used for the standard.
The actual one.
Let's just show how large this standard was. It would be all the way down this table.
This, the full length.
And this big so that it could drape over the coffin.
Yeah, and the width of this table too.
Granted the royal warrant in 2008, the company is honoured to be involved. However, the magnitude of the moment is only just beginning to sink in.
It's hit me, but I'm a bit overwhelmed with it because I've just done what I do day to day. I've made something.
Made in Yorkshire, admired by the world. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Knaresborough.
Certainly admired by the world. It's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Keely's here now with the latest forecast. The weather's certainly been kind the last few days, hasn't it, for all these people who are queuing up to see the Queen line in state?
Absolutely, and it actually looks really settled as we head through Sunday and Monday as well. A lot of dry weather to come. We've had mainly dry conditions today across Yorkshire and the North Midlands, but we have had a few showers, most of them along the coast, and that's where I'm going to bring you the pictures for tonight. All of them of rainbows, because we've had some sunshine and the showers as well. The first one of Scarborough, the second picture across the North York Moors. Some parts of the North York Moors today didn't get above 11 degrees, so it really has felt chilly. And the third picture of Scarborough as well, a beautiful picture of a rainbow there. It's also been very windy along the coast as well. You can keep your pictures coming in to the BBC Weather Watchers page. You can tweet me or I'm on Instagram as well. So yeah, it has been rather a day at some points along the coast, blustery, showery, but with some sunshine at times as well. It's going to remain cool through the weekend, but there will be a good deal of dry weather to be had. And the settled weather is because of this area of high pressure, but the winds are still going to come down from the north. The settled weather lasts into the early part of next week, possibly even the middle of next week, before the Atlantic takes over and fronts edge eastwards through Thursday into Friday. So you can see on the satellite picture from earlier, you can make out the shower clouds out in the North Sea. Some of them skirted along the coast, as I mentioned, and there is still that risk as we head through this evening and overnight. Otherwise, clearing skies and a cold night to come. Widespread cold conditions with temperatures cooler than this out in the countryside. We could even have a touch of frost in places. It's going to be the coldest night of the season so far. Let's have a quick look at those high water times in Filey at 9:34 and at 9:16 in Scarborough. So plenty of sunshine tomorrow, a beautiful morning. I think what we'll find is cloud will bubble up and spread out as we head through the day. So it'll be a cloudier come the afternoon compared to the morning. The small risk of the odd coastal shower, but for most it will stay dry. It won't be as windy as today, although it will still be keen, that breeze along the coast. Temperatures a little bit higher in some spots compared with today. Today we got up to around 15 at best. We could get up to around 16 tomorrow, which is 61 Fahrenheit. Into Sunday, the risk of the odd shower, but for most it does look dry, at times fairly cloudy, and it remains settled into the early part of next week. Amy.
Thank you. Well, that's it from us. Just a reminder, we do have a special programme, 5:30 on Sunday evening, looking back at a week of tributes to Her Majesty the Queen. I do hope you can join us then. Amanda's here with your late news tonight, though. Bye-bye for now.